They don't teach these stories in Sunday school. They're buried in plain sight, between verses, across translations, obscured by centuries of doctrine. But once you uncover them, you cannot unsee them. Why would the Bible, often treated as the ultimate source of truth, contain stories of giant angels that tower between heaven and earth, prophets granted supernatural speed, divine teleportation, and lions that kill in obedience to paradoxical commands? And most disturbingly, why are these accounts almost never discussed by priests, pastors, or theologians? Tonight we open the vault, 5 stories, real, written in the very texts billions revere, yet whispered as if they were heresies. Stories that challenge everything. We thought we knew about the God of the Bible, stories that, when linked together, reveal something far more ancient, more powerful, and more terrifying than we ever imagined. Are these tales divine miracles, or coded messages from something else? This is doom theory, and these are the hidden Bible stories they never wanted you to know. In 1 Chronicles 21, a strange force moves in the background, not God, not man, but Satan himself. He whispers into the mind of King David, convincing him to take a census of Israel. This seemingly harmless act triggers divine fury. Why? Because in ancient theology, to count was to claim. David, in his pride, was marking what only God had authority over. What follows is a moment so strange, so visually overwhelming, that it breaks the limits of what most believers think angels can be. David is given 3 options for punishment, and he chooses to place himself in the hands of God. That decision unleashes something terrifying. An angel of destruction, dispatched by God, descends over Jerusalem. But this is not the cherub of Renaissance paintings. This being is described as standing between heaven and earth, with a sword so large it stretches across the entire city. Think about that. A celestial entity, spanning dimensions, arms extended. In judgment, its sword casting a shadow over homes, temples, lives. David sees it. Everyone does. The ground shakes. The people scream. And then, silence. The Lord commands the angel to stop, but only after 70,000 are dead. This being is not just a divine messenger. It is an executioner, a gatekeeper, a sentinel of cosmic wrath. But here's the question. Why? Is it only mentioned once? Why is this world-ending figure never referred to again? What dimension was it guarding between heaven and earth? And who truly sent it? God, or something pretending to be God? In 1 Kings 18, another puzzle appears. This time, the prophet Elijah is in the aftermath of a legendary confrontation. He has called down fire from heaven, humiliated the prophets of Baal, and slaughtered them. But then something strange happens. As a storm approaches, Elijah turns to King Ahab and tells him to ride away in his chariot to avoid the coming rain. Chariots, mind you, were the fastest vehicles of the time, drawn by the strongest horses of Israel's elite military, but Elijah outruns it. The Bible states, "The hand of the Lord came upon Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel." That's roughly 25 kilometers on foot, beating a chariot already ahead of him. What kind of force was this? Was it adrenaline? Was it divine energy? Or was Elijah momentarily transformed into something other than human? Because speed in mystical traditions is more than motion. It's a symbol of time, of transcendence, of breaking through the limits of flesh. And here's where it gets stranger. This incident follows fire from heaven, judgment, blood. The prophet has become a conduit, perhaps temporarily, of a higher frequency. Could it be that this wasn't just a miracle, but a revelation of what prophets truly were? Beings touched by forces outside of time and space, used for human drama, but existing partly beyond it? Who else in Scripture moved like this? And what if it wasn't God doing the empowering, but something far older, hidden behind the veil of the sacred name? This next story doesn't fit with any traditional theology. It's a paradox, a trap, a riddle within a riddle. And it's found in 1 Kings 13. A young prophet is sent by God with a specific command: deliver a prophecy, refuse all hospitality, eat nothing, drink nothing, return by a different path. Simple, right? But then enters an old prophet, a man who lies. He tells the young prophet that God has changed the plan, that he must return and dine with him. And here's where the story spirals into madness. The young prophet agrees. He eats, he drinks, and suddenly God speaks. Not to the young man, but through the very liar who deceived him. He proclaims death over the young prophet, and a lion kills him on the road home, but the lion does not eat him. The lion stands over his body beside the donkey he rode in on, silent, waiting, as if guarding a relic, as if part of something ritualistic. What God commands disobedience, only to punish obedience to a false command? Why does the lion behave like a priest, not a predator? And why is this story included at all, except to whisper something darker? That not all prophecy is from God, and that sometimes God uses lies to test or to trap. What if the young prophet wasn't being tested at all, but sacrificed? For whom? Genesis is full of symbols, names, numbers, visions, but one passage slips past most readers, subtle, silent, dangerous. Joseph has become a ruler in Egypt. He brings his family to Pharaoh. Famine grips the land, chaos reigns, and then Jacob blesses Pharaoh twice. This isn't a greeting. The Hebrew term used, barak, means to bestow divine favor. And that's where the alarm should sound. Hebrews 7:7 tells us, without doubt, the lesser is blessed by the greater. So if Jacob blessed Pharaoh, Jacob was greater. This seemingly harmless interaction is a cosmic power play, the enslaved Hebrew patriarch blessing the king of the world. A reversal of order, a silent declaration that the time of the pagans was ending and judgment was coming. And we know what happens next: the rise of Israel, the plagues, the Exodus. But what if this moment wasn't just political, it was prophetic? A curse disguised as a blessing. Jacob, now called Israel, was not simply honoring Pharaoh, he was marking him like a lamb before slaughter, like a system about to collapse. What if every time the chosen blesses the powerful, it is actually a sealing of fate? And if so, who has blessed our leaders? By the time we reach the New Testament, reality seems to bend. Jesus, resurrected, walks through locked doors, appears and disappears at will, and even causes an entire boat to teleport. In the Gospel of John, the disciples are rowing through a storm. Jesus walks on water toward them. But once he steps into the boat, the verse says, immediately they reached the shore. No rowing, no effort, no explanation. They were just there. Then there's Philip in Acts 8. After baptizing an Ethiopian official, the Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch did not see him again. Philip appears 38 kilometers away in Azotus, time, space, matter, bent by an invisible will. Some claim these are mere metaphors. Others say it proves Jesus had mastery over creation. But what if it's more than that? What if these were not miracles but leaks? Leaks in the structure of reality. Glitches in the code. Signs that the rules we live by, distance, time, presence are not absolute, but programmable, and if Christ could do this, who else can? The beings described in the Old Testament, the angels, the fire-bringers, the speed granters, are eerily similar. Is it possible that the same being who split the Red
Sea is the one who pulled a prophet across a continent? And is it possible they are not who we think they are? You were never supposed to hear these stories. They challenge the sanitized commercial version of faith we're fed today. They hint at
a higher war, one of dimensions, of bloodlines, of ancient agreements signed in celestial court, from giant angels towering over cities, to lions standing beside corpses like ritual guards, to teleportations that defy physics itself. These
are not stories of comfort.
They are warnings. The Bible, it seems, is not just a book of morals. It's a code book of secrets, some so dark and powerful, entire religions have buried them. But now you've heard them, and once you open your eyes to the hidden layer of Scripture, you begin to wonder, what else have they hidden from us? Subscribe to Doom Theory, because next time we go even deeper. The Bible was never safe. It was always dangerous.